Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to the Kevin Wright Show. We've been a series talking on the podcast a lot about your talent and about your focus and your art and maybe even getting paid for your art. And what if you step into the next level and step into the next arena of getting actual compensation for your talents? Maybe you're a songwriter, maybe you're an actor, maybe you're an artist who paints, an artist who sketches, does screenplays, filmmaking. Maybe you're a model. You're using your talents and your gifts to finally try to carve out a living. So we've been in this series and we've been talking about all the things that go into that. The self-doubt, the difficulty, the hard work that it takes. You can listen to the last couple of episodes. We've interviewed some artists and got some research and figured out what it takes to do this. How much content you have to put out there. How do you make it in a flooded market? Last episode we talked about learn to feed yourself with your art. What if in your art, you're not just doing it for public consumption, but you actually have to do it. You have to do it to feed your soul. You have to produce your art. You have to put out your product. You have to be involved in the process of your art to feed your soul. It's crying out from within you. We're going to hit on that a little bit more today. And there's an incredibly powerful quote that I heard from Bryan Callen. Bryan Callen's a stand-up comedian. He was on Joe Rogan, on the Joe Rogan podcast. And he read this quote, and it talks about evaluating your art. Sometimes people are the biggest critics of their art. Sometimes people, regardless of how much praise they get, regardless of how much support they get from family, from friends, from whoever, from paying customers, still criticize their art. And last episode, we talked about learning to love the process of making your art, learning to feed yourself, learning to you don't always have to enjoy it, but you got to figure out how to love the lifestyle. You got to do it for you. It doesn't mean you're always going to be, lacking criticism towards yourself. That's going to be there. But this quote addresses some of those topics. This quote addresses that very concept of criticizing yourself and being too harsh on yourself or dissecting your work and your art and your technique too much. Again, I got this from Bryan Callen, but it's an old quote from a dancer named Martha Graham. And Martha Graham was we have a massive rainstorm happening right now, a big storm, so hopefully you can hear me. Martha Graham was a dancer in stage production in Broadway. She died in 1991, but this is an excerpt from a conversation she had, and you can find this letter online. And she tells this to a struggling artist who was being self-critical, and even though she was getting a lot of praise, the woman that Martha was mentoring needed to hear this, and I think it's powerful. She says this: "There is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action, and because there is only one of you in all of time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium, and it will be lost. The world will not have it. It is not your business to determine how good it is or how valuable, nor how it compares with other expressions. It is your business to keep it yours, clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. You do not even have to believe in yourself or your work. You have to keep yourself open and aware to the urges that motivate you. Keep the channel open. As for you, you have so far used about 1/3 of your talent." And this was the response she got. "But when I see my work, I take for granted what other people value in it. I see only its ineptitude, its flaws, and its crudities. I am not pleased or satisfied with my own work." No artist is ever pleased with their own work. But then is there satisfaction? No satisfaction whatever at any time, she cried out passionately. There is only a divine dissatisfaction, a blessed unrest that keeps us marching and makes us more alive than the others. But the three things that stick out to me, and I'll put this quote in the comments down below so you can read it. But the three things that stick out to me is, one, Martha Graham says that it is not your duty to judge your work all the time. It is not your duty to overly criticize your work all the time. Your duty is to keep your authentic channel open to the public. Keep your authentic channel open to the world. If you stifle your voice, if you stifle your talent, if you stifle what you have, the world will never get that one-of-a-kind thing. Think about that. Each of us has this one-of-a-kind thing, has this one-of-a-kind ability. And when you're a talented artist, it's even more so magnified. It is your duty to keep that channel open and produce that thing that only you can do. Give that voice that only you can give. That is your number one duty. Don't be overly critical. Don't be overly analytic about your thing. Keep the channel open and get it out there and see what happens. See what happens. And in that, be authentic to you. And realize that authenticity already exists within us because we are unique. Do your thing. Don't try to copy other people. Do your thing and be proud of it and be excited about it. Another note that I think is so powerful in this quote is that reminder that it's not our business to determine how good or how valuable the art is and how it compares with other people's art. Think about that thing that you do. It's not our business to be comparing all the time. Think about if you're a model. If you're a model, you have a unique body. You have a unique face. You have a unique look. You're going to get hired because you're unique. It's not healthy, and it's not even our duty to constantly, I'm comparing my ass to that person's ass, my arms to that person's arms. I want to look just like them. Don't strive for that. Put your thing out there. Put your art out there. Not comparing to other people. She says you don't even have to determine the value of your authentic voice. That's for other people to put a label on. You just have to do it. You just have to be, you have to dig deep down inside and find what it is, that thing that you put out there. That's wild. It's freeing in a way. She mentions that most artists are dissatisfied with their own work, and yet they are still in love with it because it's what keeps them going. It's what gives them life and meaning. Many people have said that the reason we're on this earth is to give our gift back to life, give our gift back to the rest of humanity. And that's when you start being fulfilled. And when you give your gift, it doesn't always mean you're going to appreciate it as much as other people. A lot of times other people will find encouragement in the things you say, in the art that you make, in the talents that you put out there. But you might not appreciate it all the time. You won't be satisfied all the time, but you learn to thrive off of the giving of your unique voice. I love that. I love that. It is not your job to constantly be calculating the value, constantly be analyzing. It is your job to figure out what it is you have to give, and then give it authentically and give it as you. If you take these principles, if I take these principles to my art, I think there's a freedom that comes with it. Okay, let me rest in this. I'm probably not going to be satisfied with my art all the time. I'm probably not going to love it all the time. I might even be the biggest critic about my own presentation, about my own talents, about my own art. I probably will be the biggest critic. That's all natural and that's all part of the process. But don't spend too much time on that focus. Spend time on putting it out. If all of us understood since we were children that we have a unique voice and we have a unique thing to put out there into the world, and we can curate this and we can learn more about it, I think we'd be in a better place. If all of us understood that we are unique in this world, we're one of a kind, and the things we say and the things we do and the things we create are special to this world and unlike anything else that's out there, I think we'd find more satisfaction in life. You know, like Martha Graham says, it's not always going to be easy, it's not always going to be satisfactory, and it's not always going to be pleasing. Sometimes it's torturous and frustrating, but it is the best life. It is the best life to be involved in your art and to be putting out your work and to be putting out your talent. That's, to me, incredibly powerful. Your job is to be you authentically. Your job is to do your thing. Your job is to feed into it. In our last episode, we talked about what if you could feed your soul by the process of creating your art? Then you're way ahead of the game. What if you could feed your soul and you realize, even though I don't love this all the time, this is what I need to be doing. This gives me meaning in life. We're all searching for meaning. Every scientist, every religious leader, every book writer, every author, every investigator, We're always trying to uncover why we're here. What if Martha Graham has really dialed in that piece? Be authentically you. And find a gift to give back to this earth. And don't close that channel. It's when you close that channel that you make the biggest mistake. Not when you put out an inferior product, or not when you put out a failure. That's still a success. The big mistake is when you close the channel and you stop creating, and you stop trying, and you stop speaking, and you stop trying to give something to the world. Maybe your thing is comedy. Keep trying. Keep trying. Be less concerned about comparing your comedy with other people's comedy and rest in your uniqueness. Rest in your authenticity. Keep trying. Our duty is to put it out there and to keep the channel open. I wonder how sad it is to look upon a life and to say there is a channel of talent and there is a channel of art and there is ability there, but the channel is closed. Have you ever seen that before? I'm going to meditate on that and think of some examples where there was something there, but somebody closed the channel because of fear, because of insecurity, jealousy, overly comparing themselves to other people. I want to think about that. I want to see where lives are being impacted by not keeping the channel open. And maybe we can encourage other artists and each other by saying, are you just keeping the channel open? Let it flow out. Have you stumbled upon a thing that you think is good for you to create? Let it go. Let it open up. I think a couple things to review here. Your duty isn't comparison. Your duty is to be authentic, to be you, to keep your channel open. Isn't it funny being on YouTube and talking about your channel? There's a very spiritual, strong meaning to that word. Your channel. That's one of the beautiful things about YouTube. Don't be overly comparative. Do your thing. Grow more confident in doing your thing. You're not satisfied all the time? You're not supposed to be. Martha Graham closes in her statement there. Satisfaction? It's not the reason we do it. The reason we do it is to find a life and find meaning and find sanity, maybe a little bit. Maybe by pushing ourselves to the edge of creativity, we find a little sanity. We find a reason to belong. We find a hobby. Maybe that's why hobbies are good. I think these are good things to think of. I found that to be a powerful quote, a powerful encouragement. Like I said, I heard it for the first time on the Joe Rogan podcast, but this is a famous piece of encouragement. It's found and quoted in a bunch of different literature. Check it out. Look more into it. Comment down below on similar encouraging, powerful statements, things that can help us all. This has been another podcast on our series about talent and putting your thing out there, putting your skills, your art out there, and maybe creating a career out of that special thing that you have. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time on the Kevin Wright Show podcast. You can find us on Spotify, on YouTube, or just at thekevinwrightshow.com, and you can listen in a number of different ways. iTunes as well. We'll be wrapping up our series on talent, wrapping up our series on art, and moving into some other things. Getting back to a little bit more comedy, getting back to some of the things that we were founded on. We love you. Have a good one.